Well, welcome to another edition of my Harlow My Life, and today to say that I think we're joined realistically by Essex royalty. To be really honest with you, because the man sitting to my left, of course, is part of that very famous Harlow side, but also probably one of the greatest coaches I've ever seen. I'll be openly honest with you. The man is got that magical touch if it's a kid or if it's an adult, and I'm so glad to say a big welcome to Mr. Ray Wickenden.
How you doing? You okay?
Yeah, not too bad, sir. Not too bad at all. Not too bad. And I suppose first questions first. I asked everybody else, how's lockdown been for yourself?
It's been okay. We were fortunate. We went away we were away in Lanzarote for the week before lockdown, me and the missus. So that was quite nice. We actually got a holiday in before it all kicked off.
Yeah.
And like I say, I haven't had much work, but my missus has worked all the way through it. So it's been okay. Done a lot of decorating.
Master at that as well now.
Yeah, I think everybody you talk to has done loads of decorating and God knows what. All the jobs you couldn't do, I've now done. So, but I'm just starting now to get back and going out to work and getting some. So that's all right. It is what it is, isn't it? Can't do nothing about it.
I suppose one question for you. I mean, the last he's young Danny. How is he? I mean, the last time we saw him, he was being carried off the Harlow pitch. So I don't know what a quality player he is.
He's got the bit between his teeth. He wants to go and get himself. Well, he has got himself really fit. We've been out. He's dragged me out on the bikes and dragged me out doing a bit of pre-season for him and all this sort of stuff. He looks really good. I'm impressed. He's so I think he wants to go back into it, get a bit higher. I think his ability is no problem. I think sometimes he worried about his fitness, but he's got that now. So hopefully there'll be clubs out there that would like to take him, and we go from there.
No.
So he's good, really good.
No, good. So, Ray, I mean, how did I mean, I've known you a long time, and I'll be honest with you, up until probably 6 months ago or so, I didn't realise you actually played for Harlow, and that's a sad thing for me, but it's not something that I'm back on that side of it. But looking into it and all the rest of it, and when did you first actually get involved with Harlow and playing at Harlow?
I was at Southend at the time as schoolboy forms up there. But what you could do then, you could play South East Counties in the morning and come back and play for Harlow youth team in the afternoon, which is what I did at the old place. And behind the old pitch, there used to be another pitch, believe it or not, that we all used to play the youth games on. So that's how I first started. And like I say, then when I left Southend, I just come there. I was 16, something like that. And I think I made my debut in an FA Cup game, funny enough, against Edgefield, I think it was. And I was only 16. And I never really looked back. I was in and out for that season, but I think I had 10 years there, 10 years at Harlow. So it's one of them, I think, when you do it for such a young age of getting in the first team, and then you get to sort of 26, 25, 26, you're looking at, do I go somewhere else? Do I stay? And the way the club was, again, it was the same sort of thing as you've got now. Did we look like we were moving forward? Possibly not. Should have done after the cup run. I think there was a few quid flying around it. So in the end, when an offer came in from Stalford, I went there. And I probably spent the same amount of time there as I did at Harlow.
Yeah.
But never had the, like when you look at the cup runs, which everybody speaks about and everything else, we were exceptional side, but we were as fit as fiddles, and it was good times. But yeah.
So what year was it you actually was there then at Harlow?
Oh no, you are asking something. I can't remember the actual year, but it must have been. If I think about it, it must have been sort of 75, 76, something like that, because I think the when my daughter was born.
Yeah.
So I was there then, and my wife then, her dad was youth team manager or coach over at Harlow then, Ron Cosy. So it's that sort of time. But yeah, it's a few years ago. It's hard to remember, this old brain. There's not a lot between the ears now, you know what I mean?
Well,
So,
with that, I mean, any well, on that sort of build up then to that sort of big season, was there any sort of inklings, inside the squad or inside the actual club itself, that what was about to happen that season in 79, 80, that was going to actually happen?
I think the only thing that, obviously, Walsall being the manager, the one thing that we never saw the balls very often. We just run, basically. Every training session was running, running, running. But you could see there was, I don't know if it was looking to get in the FA Cup, it was just looking to be a successful side. And, the way he wanted to play, basically, we had Goffey played sweeper behind, so far behind everybody else. It was unreal that nobody could get in behind us, but we could all sweep forward. And, but we were super fit. I remember that we were winning games in the last 10 minutes of lots of games that season. And that's, I think, when our fitness come in. I wouldn't say, he brought I'd thought there was about 6 coming from Stalford, something like that at the time. I think they'd been reasonably successful, like Goffey's, Freddie Flax, them sort of players, Kitson, the goalkeeper, all come over from Stalford, and they were a decent side. So it was just a matter of adding a few. I mean, I was fortunate. I was probably the only one that got kept on in the end by Walsall. I think I'm sure that's something that I was quite proud of. I never realised it until I read it. But I say he was hard manager. But do you know what? You can ask for a fairer man.
Yeah.
And he did teach us. He did treat us a little bit like a school teacher, but fantastic. But when you look at it, I think our first game, I think we went and played away somewhere like Lowestoft or something like that in the first round, and you wouldn't have thought it. But you think we had players like Paul Fairclough. You look at where he's gone on to be now. He couldn't get nowhere near the side. And you just think, we stayed more or less the same. That's the only thing I would say all the way through the season. There wasn't many changes. No, I think it was one of them. As the momentum took you on, you then realised, it was very much like, I suppose I was the same as the rest of them. When you go to a certain game, you go and play a pro side, especially away from home, you just think, we might get something out of it, but we've had a great day.
Yeah.
And then when you do get them back and, you go through, then you're just looking for the next thing. You're just trying to do it like that. I think it's the only way you can do it, because let's be fair, we weren't supposed to win.
So when you had the first preliminary round, you as you said, you had to go to you were playing Lowestoft. I mean, was that, where was that? Was it at home? Was that away? Because I've only got literally written.
First game was away.
Yeah.
First game was definitely away. Long old journey, and again, same thing. It's probably like everybody else. You're just really just coming out pre-season.
Yeah.
You're going away baking. I remember it, baking up day, that sort of stuff, and you just think to yourself, let's just get through this one. Like a lot of other clubs, the club basically want us to try and get through the first round proper, where there's a little bit of money, that sort of stuff. And I think even now, when I look at it, when me and Paul were at Cheshunt and at Bournemouth, we were just going, like, just get through these couple of rounds, a little bit of money, and that's what the club were looking for. And I think it was the same then.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit more money in it now, them preliminary rounds. But, like I say, I don't think anybody thought we would go on to do what we did. I don't believe that at all. I just think it was, we were a decent side. We were a hard side to beat.
Yeah. So what was the result up at Lowestoft then?
Again, I can't remember. I know we won.
Yeah.
I know that much, but like I say, the old memory's gone a bit now, mate. You have to, I'm sure someone will tell you. But
I feel too, so they'll be telling me. But
that's what I mean. I just think it was it was a good time to be around the club. I have to say, I think Walsall come in and just made the club and everybody else feel, welcome, happy. I don't think we were the best footballing side, but I think we would grind out a result. And I think if you had that side now, I think you could be looking at. I think you're looking at something like Conference South with that side.
Yeah.
Easy,
Yeah.
if not more.
Yeah.
But
so you beat Lowestoft. I mean, was it the old fashioned thing where every player and that sort of sitting around the radios or around the TV trying to see who you're going to get in the next round, or it was haunted.
I think when you're in them preliminary rounds, I don't think you're thinking about where you're going next, because I think it's very much where you just go, get through this one, get to the next one, because everybody you're playing is of the same ilk. You know what I mean? Until you get a bit further on, you're not going to get anybody that, realistically you could beat or they could beat you.
Yeah.
It's one of them sort of things. I think if I remember rightly, we went to something like Stowe Market and places, they were the sort of things.
Yeah.
So, you're playing against sides that, like I say, the big boys, even non-league big boys, weren't coming in until later on.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter until you get through them to, when you're looking at first round proffers and all that, you're getting your South Ends of this world. Once we got down that road, then it was different, because obviously everybody wanted to know you.
Yeah. So I mean,
wanted to know you. It's all that. Go and get your suits out of Burton's and all that old rubbish. You know what I mean? Which is great, but
So I mean, looking at that, then you go to Hornchurch, beat them, beat Bury Town, beat Harwich and Parkston, and then in the final qualifying round you beat Margate. I mean, you then get to the sort of the first round proper. Was it a disappointment when the draw comes out and you're getting Leytonstone and Ilford? Or was you expecting, because you wanted a league team then?
Yeah, I think everybody did. Because in the end, you're thinking you're chancing your luck every round you're going in.
Yeah.
You're just thinking, well, it'd be nice to get against a pro side. On the flip side of that, which again, you have to look at, if you do get through, you're thinking you get through them 2 rounds and you're looking at real big boys then that are coming in. So it's one of them. If you go through, everybody's happy. If you don't, you think, what was the point in the last few rounds? Because you've just gone out to some side that was the same as you.
Yeah.
But you look at it, Leytonstone and Ilford, when you look at where they play, they were a reasonably successful side then. They were a decent side. I can remember playing over, because they used to have the old railway line running down over one side and all that sort of stuff. But they were the times when you had them, you had Walpstow Avenues, you had some lovely grounds, Dullies and Hamlets. You were going to some beautiful places, but you were going to some rubbish places.
And you're not going to mention them.
Yeah. So there's, it was really enjoyable, I think. But again, I was reasonably young. You're reasonably, you're a bit gullible. You know what I mean? You just think, it's good.
So we beat them 2-1, and we then go into the second round, and then you do get a semi big boy, shall we say? In Southend United. So I mean, what was the squad like, knowing you were going up to play them at Southend as well? There must have been even for Harlow was a tough draw, I would have thought, going away to Southend.
Yeah, I think so. You're going to play at Roots Hall and all that sort of stuff, and the pitch is going to be lovely, and they're going to come at you. I think that was the biggest thing when you play pro sides, from my experience, was if you could survive 20 minutes, you had half a chance, because the one thing because being a non-league side, you played a lot off the cuff. Though you were organised, you were fit, you did all them sort of things, you did play a lot off the cuff, which pro sides didn't like.
Yeah.
They wanted you to be a certain way and whatever it may be. And like I say, if you could get through them first 20 minutes, you normally were in with more of a shout. Let's put it that way. If you weren't going to go 2 or 3 down, then you were going to be in with a shout. And that's exactly what happened there. They bombarded us at times in the game, but we knew we had Prosser up top and, Twiggy up there. And, you're looking at, we had people who could score goals. Mackenzie, so as long as we hung in and dug deep, like I say, we had Goffey at the back, who he was so far away from us, it was ridiculous. But it was like you knew that you had a get out of jail card with him in there, because he not much got past him, So Yeah, like I say, I think we all went there with. I think if any player who went there would have to be honest. You don't think you're going to get through because they're a pro side.
Yeah.
But you have to then go, once you start getting into it, you think, well, hang on, they're not that good. You know what I mean? We might be in with a shout, and I think that's what definitely went around the change room, you know, and half time and that sort of stuff. I think we just dug deep and, you know, and then we score. You know, you think to yourself, well, fair enough, you know. But
so in that game, then we took the lead.
Yeah, for sure we did. I say, it's such a long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, my memories of the games are so far off. You know, when people tell me things, I think, oh, did we? You know, that's a little bit the old grey matter going, you know what I mean? So I just remember we won, you know, in the end. We beat them, got through the round.
So what was it like, you know, at the end of the game? Can you remember anything about what the dressing room was like at the end of that game? You know, you get a draw up there, you know you're coming, you know you're going to take them back to the sports centre, but of course then I'm assuming, you know, it must have been quite a, you know, should we say, an excited dressing room afterwards. But then, if I'm still right in saying that day's the draw was done on the Monday,
yeah,
and then you would have known you would have got Leicester City,
yeah,
in the next round.
I think we always fancy ourselves at Sports Centre. Nobody wants to go there. I mean, it's like one man and his dog sometimes. I mean, it wasn't obviously for them games, but nobody wants to go and play there. It's not. It was never the nicest. With that running track round it and everything else. But we always felt, you know, if you got back home, like any club, you just feel like you're in with a chance. But again, the same thing, I think it was very much like, let's have another football. You know, normally though, as we've, you know, normally when you get a pro side, you only get that one chance. And, you know, that's a little bit in your mind, I think, you know. But like I say, I don't think the side, me personally, and I don't think the rest of the players were ever scared of any of the sides we played. It never fazed us because we just thought, look, we're as fit as they are. I think, you know, there was players in our side who we thought could have gone on to be pros themselves. Yeah, so it was very much that sort of attitude. You know, give it your best shot. Hopefully, we'll get through. And that's how we, you know, that's how I remember it. You know what I mean? It's
was that the first time though for you playing in front of a, you know, should we say a big crowd? Because according to what the information I've got, it was about 5,000 there at the Sports Centre for the replay against Southend. So I mean, was that?
I think you can't believe you get 5,000 in the Sports Centre as it is.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? You think, like, how did they do that? You know, especially with the grass going up and everything else. But yeah, I think everybody, it was the biggest crowds we've played in front. But you know, it's strange because going on a touch when you go to somewhere like Filbert Street, and I can remember going out for the warm up and going out through the tunnel bit, and the abuse we took was unreal from their supporters. You're thinking, well, hang on a minute, we've done well to get here. You know, this is a day out because nobody expects you to win. But they're sort of up round the top of the division and everything else. You know, please say, well done, boys. You know, none of that. It was like gobbing at you and all that sort of stuff. And you think, like, hang on, what have I done? I've just come here to have a game of football. But again, I'm sure, same sort of thing. You think, well, if that's the way you're going to be, then, you know, we'll give it a go then. You know what I mean? But, yeah, I just think in the end, you just have to have that attitude, you know. And for me, I was fortunate because I played against quite a few pro sides in FA Cup games when I went on. When I played at Stortford, we'd had the same sort of things and whatever it may be. So for me, it was just a matter of my mindset was always, I always thought I was as good as they were, always. And I think that's what got us through because I think most of the players did.
So what was that like though? I mean, do you know? Can you remember who scored the goal against Southend, the winner?
No.
No.
Like I say, I just remember the games. I remember getting through them and whatever it may be. People talk to me about it, and I think, you know, I mean, I've never been that way. I've never that's the past. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I just don't have that where I've got that sort of memory of who scored this and I jumped up and down and we did this, that, and the other. It was just business. We had to get through. You know, I think as well with the side we had at Harlow, we were very and with having the manager there, same sort of thing. We were very, very workmanlike, if you know what I mean. It was never. I can't remember ever going out on the slash with them and all that like I have when I went on.
Yeah.
And you got a little bit older and all that because I was only a kid myself, really.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that was the thing about Harlow at the time. We were the only way I can describe it, very workmanlike.
Yeah.
We definitely went, got the job done, got away, got back on the coach, got home. If the job was good, then fair enough. If it wasn't, we'd work again to the next game. And I think that's why we did as well as we did.
But you beat Southend 1-0, and then you're going. You know, as you said, you're going to Filbert Street to play Leicester, and of course, all right, Leicester are where they are now, but they weren't necessarily as big then. But I mean, going there with the likes of the players that they did have in that squad at the time. I mean, the excitement around the ground and around the club must have been. I mean, can you remember how long it was between winning the replay and then going? Was it the usual sort of couple of weeks?
Yeah, couple of weeks, something like that. And what I remember from it more than anything else, because being a Sparky and all that sort of stuff, I had papers phone me up, can we come to you where you're working, and you know, you put your two cables together and all that, and all that sort of stuff. It was a great time, you know, and you know, people wanting to have you know, do bits and pieces with you and that sort of thing. So in them 2 weeks, it was quite hectic. For most of the players, especially the boys who were scoring the goals.
Yeah.
Obviously, being a defender, it was like, you know, we were the last ones really. It was the boys who were up there getting all the glory. But yeah, it was a good time. Like I say, it just seemed to go on for a while before we actually went. And again, we're going there. Nobody expects us to do anything. You know, I think if I remember rightly, I think they were right up the top of their division.
Yeah.
I think they were either top or second.
Yeah.
You know, and you think to yourself, like, we've got no right whatsoever to be going there trying to think we're going to get something out of it. You know, and to go there and get a draw and bring them back to ours was fantastic. But it was hostile. I think if you speak to a few supporters who went, I know my brother went, and people like their coach, my dad was up there, and coach got all the windows smashed in and all this sort of business. You think, like, really? We're a non-league side. What is that all about?
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you, they must have thought we were a threat. You know, perhaps they were trying to scare us all. I don't know. But it was a little bit, you know, when you, like I say, when you step out, you do feel a little bit, my good God, you know what I mean? Yeah, decent crowd, but
as a young man, though, you're saying, you know, at the time, a young man, you know, going into those games, how did the squad sort of keep its head on its shoulders going into league games before, you know, going into the game? Was it a case of be careful, don't get injured type of attitude, or did you just still go out all guns blazing games?
It was, if you had, like I say, if you had ever met Walsall, the manager, there was no way he's having none of that. You know, you either did what you had to do, or you wouldn't be playing.
Yeah.
Simple as that. You know, so we had to go into games. The worst bit was if you look at the games from when you're playing league games, you had one man and his dog at the sports centre. You're thinking, like, 1 minute you've got all these fans going, like, oh, you know, and it was great. And then the next day you might have 100 people there.
Yeah.
You're thinking, like, hang on a minute. But that's a bit strange.
Yeah.
But you know, at the end of the day, you also understand that everybody wants to be part of it. You know, it is what it is in the end. But like I say, it was a weird sort of. Like I say, I've always been a player that, I mean, because I hurt my knee up at Leicester.
Right.
And I remember getting back down for, obviously we come in a little bit earlier, and Walsall says you've got to go for a fitness test. So I'm thinking, really? It was really quite sore, my knee. But when I went out, there was a good, whatever there was quite a few supporters in that went out, and they were cheering and everything else. There was no way I weren't playing. You know, and I just thought, well, if it has to be strapped up or whatever, I'm playing.
Yeah.
you know, I'm going to kick some of them. There's no doubt about that. And that's how it transpired. I mean, I don't even think I felt my knee after.
Yeah.
You know, I got back in, strapped to what I had to do, and went with it. You know, and I think that was a lot of the players' attitude. You know, I think I was the only one who had a fitness test. Yeah, it was strange.
But it must have been. It must. I mean, you get a 1-1 draw there, and I mean, and no disrespect, it must have been the atmosphere in your dressing room afterwards. Must have been like you'd won the game. Surely, I would have thought.
You look at a few photos of the change room afterwards. There was a, you know, it's as if we won the FA Cup. You know what I mean? But that's because you look at the mountain we had to climb.
Yeah.
You know, you're thinking like for us to go and do that there, you know, like I say, where they were in the league and everything else. I mean, they it was like they wanted to swat us. You know what I mean? We what we doing? You know, we've got some nerve coming here and getting a draw. But it's again when they come back down to ours. Again, I always come back down to this. The first 20 minutes they were down at our place. You could see the players thinking we could be on a banana skin here. You know what I mean? You can see we're talking about international players and players that have played. You know, you look at their manager and all that, and you can see the fear on their face of, you know, this could not go our way. And I think that's like anybody, we all have to look at that and think, well, we'll use that, you know, which is what we did. And, you know, again, look, you know, thinking back, I know it's a long while, and I can't remember it being the greatest game in the world, but we had to dig deep, you know, and, you know, the keeper, he pulled off some great saves and, you know, Kitson and all that sort of stuff. But we were dogged. We stuck in there. And like I say, when you got the forwards we had, you know, they're always liable to score. You know what I mean? So that was the biggest thing for us.
So you played in front of, you know, home ground home at against Southend at 5,000 spectators. You've gone to, you know, Leicester and however many there must have been up there, and then you come back to the Sports Centre again. There's 9,723. I mean, that's just mental.
How do they get that in the Sports Centre?
We don't get that in a season anymore, let alone in one game. Do you know?
Yeah, I mean,
incredible.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
unreal. And you just think yourself, for one, how do they get in there?
Yeah.
You look at the safety aspects or anything like that, you're thinking, my good God, they've only got to go down the hill a little bit and they're all over the side. But you know, it was an amazing atmosphere. You know what I mean? You just think, and I think these are the sort of things that, for me, at the time, you know, they've had the great cup run and everything else, and this is what we're all trying to say now. The club should have kicked on then. There's been so many opportunities for the club to kick on that it's hard really to take. You know what I mean? You think like from then on in, they should have been a side that, you know, never looked back, like the Wickham Wanderers of this world and all that sort of stuff. That's how it should have been. They had the opportunity. Let's put it that way. You know.
I mean, in that game, do you remember anything of that game? I mean, and also, does that beating Leicester feel? What's the word? It was a great achievement, but does it feel even more of achievement when you go on to see the likes of Alan Smith, the likes of Gary Lineker, what they went on to do afterwards, and you know, eventually, does it make it feel even bigger than what it was?
You have to look at them. I mean, especially take Gary Lineker. He was only a baby.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What you've got to think about is as much as we all think just because you're a pro, you've got a different mindset and this and the other. It's everybody when you're in that situation and we look like we could get something out of it. It must have been horrendous for them. Nobody wants to be in that headline that they got beat by Harlow Town or a non-league side or whatever it may be. So you have to, and this is what I keep trying to say. I remember, you know, we really nailed that one. We were all, because of the way we were and the group of players that we were, if we could see a little bit of chink in the armour, we were going for it. You know, and that was the togetherness in the whole side were like that. So I think when you look at it along them lines, I think that's how we got through most of them games. We dug deep. You know, if somebody kick one of us up in the air, you'd have 3 or 4 of us coming back and having a pop and all this sort of stuff. You know what I mean? And that was a good thing. When we were on the pitch, we were like so together. It was unreal. I don't think we were that way off the pitch particularly, but on the pitch we were. And like I say, so for me, I just think they say they look scared, but I just think if you were in the same situation as them, it must be horrendous. I wouldn't want it myself. You know what I mean? It must be thinking you can read the headlines, can't you? You know what I mean? You're running around thinking, really, this bunch of whatever, are we're gonna make headlines and it's gonna be horrendous in the morning. You can see it all over their faces, mate. Honestly.
Yeah.
And they were telling us, you jumped up, whatever, and you think, well, yeah, but God, we are what we are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I say, great atmosphere.
Can you remember when we scored? Because I don't know too much about the game other than that we won it. Well, I mean, when was the goal scored?
Sorry?
When was the goal scored?
It was late on.
Yeah.
Late on, and it was a bit of a niffy goal, a bit of a scrappy old goal and whatever it may be. And I think that's the strange bit about it is, when you look at now, we've had all these. The postman's come. I think if you look at it now, we'd have videos to watch and all sorts, but we ain't got nothing to them games. All you've got is the pictures that are in the paper.
Yeah.
And you think it's such a shame, especially I think the only one I've seen is the Watford game.
Yeah. And
there's a few on YouTube of me. And Dan keeps reminding me of all he sees of me is picking the ball out the back of the net. You know what I mean? But a few players, obviously, where I've been coaching and all that, they look at that and they think that's highly hilarious. All they ever see is the back of me picking the ball out the back of the net. But it's. I think when we scored, they had it was getting on, and that they were struggling to get anything back. But we were dogged. We were once we got the bit between our teeth, there was not many sides that were going to beat us. And that's how it transpired. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you still have like a little smile on your face though when especially over the last year or so when I've heard Alan Smith talk about it on Sky, and I've heard Gary Lineker talk about it on Match of the Day and stuff like that. Do you sort of still have a little bit of a grin on your face when you hear them people talking about it?
Yeah, I do. I just wish. I mean, our Dan hits an nail on the head when he sees all these things coming on for the FA Cup and all that on the TV and non-league sides getting through, and he says, well, "Why aren't you there? Why aren't Harlow Town there? Why it was a great achievement, probably greater than some of the and there's nothing of it.
Yeah,
apart from them talking about it, and that's the only the shame that I thought. I think it's a big shame that we haven't got videos of what we did, and or some sort of replays of how we could play that, because the achievement was fantastic.
Was it at the time though? Was there to be there at the time?
No, probably not. But that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. No, I didn't know if the day had been there or something like that was there. I wasn't sure.
Well, Match of the Day was there for this is the ceiling thing. Match of the Day was there for the Watford game.
Yeah.
That's where it all comes from. You think in this day and age, you say we were playing Leicester in a replay, that would be on the telly now.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. People would have followed it and been there for say, well, there might be an upset. Whereas I think then, let's be fair, like I say, Leicester were, one of the top sides in their division. Nobody thought we were going to get anything back at our place. No chance. And it's the same as when we went off to Watford. Nobody thought we were going to get anything there either. I know we didn't in the end, but we give them a bit of a scare.
Yeah. So what was it like then? So you come out of that game again. You would have known, of course, because of the replay, that you would have got Watford away. I mean, so again after that game, the excitement, and you've then got that build up maybe 2 or 3 weeks before you're going to Vicarage Road. I mean, that must have been sort of like a very even probably more difficult than the run up to the Leicester game, and keeping your head on your shoulders, maybe
I think
coming.
people started to realise that we could beat. I mean, people were going, oh, how far could we go? I mean, you're going, hang on, be realistic. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you're only going to go over so many hurdles. And, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just think, if we ain't going to win it, that's a dead cert. You know what I mean? So I think, like I say, we had a lot of, you know, paper coverage, that sort of stuff. You know, people wanted to do. I think we went on. I think it was called Nationwide or something like that. You know, television program, all of us, them sort of things. It was great. You know, everybody wanted a bit of us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But again, it was very much like they wanted a bit of us, but it was everybody. It was very rare. It was just say Prosser or Mackenzie or them sort of players. It was we all did it together, and like I say, it was really hectic. You know, because like I say, you were sure. I'm sure it was Nationwide, something like that. It was one of them programs that we all went up, got picked up by car and all that sort of stuff. You know, it was really good, but you knew you might you might as well take what you can because it weren't going to last forever. You know what I mean? Yeah, anybody thought it was you must be mad. But yeah, like I say, and I remember the strange bit about it when we went to Watford, we got to just outside Watford, and then we got like a police escort into the ground. You know, a couple of outriders and all that sort of thing. You're going really, you know. You think, well, we have arrived now, haven't we? You know what I mean? And that was really a strange feeling, to say the very least. But you know, I say going there again, same sort of thing at Watford. You know, we go a goal up, and you come out second half, and all of a sudden they hit you with four. But again, they were very disrespectful. I thought, you know, he's having a right old moan. You know, here we go. This is how it should be. This is the right sort of score. And you're thinking, well, okay, you know, we've done. You know, give us a little bit of respect. But I tell you what, then we'll just kick a few of them. You know what I mean? And see how we go from there. And you know, and then I think when it goes sort of 4-3 and we hit the bar or whatever it was in the last, all of a sudden their backside start, you know, going. You think like, well, that teacher because we were a decent outfit, you know, and we deserved a lot more credit than some people were giving us, you know, and them sort of things I remember of the Watford game. And you think, I think they were saying if we got something out of the Watford game, the replay, this is the bit that got me because being an Arsenal supporter, we were going to be the replay was going to be Highbury.
Oh, okay.
That's what someone had said, and you think like, for us to be able to get a replay and not go back to ours, but to go somewhere like Highbury would have been fantastic. You know, you imagine doing that.
Yeah.
You know, and the people thinking, well, we've got to have the replay somewhere where you can get decent crowd in or something like that. You know what I mean? So, you know, that for me, it's just to be mentioned was an achievement for us as a side. You know,
who was in that Watford side that you know on that day? Was there any like big names in the Watford side?
Well, I think looking back at it, I'm trying to think. The big lad up front, Jenkins, I think his name was, and I mean when I've gone through, I mean I have got the program here. I should have brought it out with me, but there was some decent side, the decent players. You know, I mean you look at the manager was Graham Taylor.
Yeah.
You know, at the time, but like I say, we again. I always remember we never really took a lot of notes of individual players. We were just like we go and play our game. We just go out and do what we do, and if we get something from it, then fine. You know, as long as everybody just did their job, you know, which is what we did. We would get something. But like I say, the problem with me, I say I've got programs and I've got bits and bits. I've never been. I just did what I did. You know what I mean? It was great, enjoyed it, but once it's gone, it's gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know.
Well, I mean, it must have been getting back to that, and then as you said, hitting the crossbar and that right at the end. You must have been a little bit devastated in the change room afterwards.
Yeah, like I say, I was devastated because I thought it might be a replay at Highbury. That was what I was devastated for. But like I say, I think, we were just, in the end, you knew it had to come to an end.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And I think when you look at the way we finished it, if it had been 4-1, we'd have been gutted.
Mm.
You think we didn't deserve to be 4-1 down. But the fact that we got it back and we hit the crossbar in the end and whatever it may be, all of a sudden you could hold your head up high and go, do you know what? We knew it weren't going to be forever. Perhaps that's the way to go.
Mm.
Perhaps that in the end you still had a little bit of hope, and you're thinking, oh, if only. But again, you ain't going to keep taking these pro sides to replays and coming out of the right side of it. There's no way.
Yeah.
Normally it's a one-off thing, isn't it? You normally get that one crack at them, and then they come good, and So I think as a side, that was probably the best way to go out.
Mm. So having
a bit of a go.
So you come out of that game. How did that then sort of affect the rest of the season once that was over? Did the club sort of then sort of like start losing games, or did we sort of just pick on or kick on from there?
Again, because of the sort of side we were, in the end, we weren't a side that would worry too much about. I think it was a little bit of a downer when you play at home, like saying, and all of a sudden you're playing one man and his dog.
Yeah,
that little bit hard to take, because and when you turn up to the game and, like I say, there's no one. You still got the hardened supporters, fair enough, but you're talking about people who, half of Harlow was there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You think and all of a sudden there's nothing.
Yeah.
I think they were quite hard things as players to get round.
Mm.
But because of the group that we had, in the end, you had to get on with it.
Mm.
You just had to go, okay, well, that is the way it is. And I think if the strange bit is, if you looked at it now, if you look at the new ground, if we had been playing there in them games and going up even the last couple of seasons, reasonable crowds are getting up there, that would have been easier because I think you would have still got them crowds.
Mm-hmm.
Not as many, obviously, but because of the sports centre was the way it was, you had to have a pair of binoculars to watch the game from one side to the other sometimes, you know what I mean? So I think that side of it was quite hard to cope with once it had all gone. You didn't have a paper phone you up. You didn't get an invite to go on television or nothing like that no more, you know what I mean? It was just like, yeah, that's done. See you later. You know what I mean? It's old hat, isn't it? That was quite hard to deal with.
Mm.
But we were resilient as a side.
Mm.
I mean,
are you? I mean, would you have liked to have seen sort of? I mean, just recently, of course, as well. It was 40 years this year, and I suppose kicking in the season. I mean, would you have liked to seen the club sort of bring everybody back in and have a sort of some kind of a little presentation for you or whatever in there as well, and sort of celebrate the success?
I think the one thing that I notice when I go up there's not a lot of memorabilia about what we did, and that's a shame because I think you should always be proud of it and whatever. I think some of the supporters are, but I think the club itself, I think not they'd rather forget it. That's not quite what I mean. But I think it was a great achievement that should, you look at some of the other clubs you go to, and it's all over the walls, and and everybody knew what you did. I think you struggle to find anything down at Harlow regarding that. And I agree. I think it would have been nice. I mean, look, it's a shame some of the players are no longer here, and that's a bit of a shame. But then, that's what I say. You look at it. I was probably one of the younger players. I'm 63 now, so you look at some of the other players who were senior players. To me, it's hard, isn't it? But I just think the club. It would be lovely if the club wanted to do something like that, but I don't see it. you know where I'm coming from there, because it's something that, for me, it shouldn't be about. It should be about the club. The club did that, whether it was us, whether it was, what I mean. It's still about the Harlow Town Football Club. nobody goes, it was Harlow Town Football Club, that was the chairman, that was the manager, that was this, that, and the other, that was the player. They do, but I think it's a shame when your history gets pushed to the back because you didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's really not the way to do it, I don't think. I think it should be something that the club, whether it's, and it's not, I think it's certain people at the football club don't want to acknowledge because they didn't do it. That's the impression I get. Now, I might be totally wrong, but that's the impression I get.
So from there, then, I mean, how did the rest of the, your career at Harlow go? I mean, the following year, when we're right, was it not a great year the following year?
I was I'd had enough because I didn't think the club were kicking on. I didn't think they wanted to be successful. Everybody told you that's what we're going to do. We're going to do this, going to do that. Never really materialised. And it was in the end, I decided that I was, I'd rather go and play somewhere else. And it was such a shame because I think I've been there 10 years sort of thing. And in the end, I just think until which they've done now, they had to get away from sports centre. That was a fact. But, when you look at, we can't build it here, we can't build it there, we can't do this, you're thinking, like, if that ground had happened after we'd had the cup run, I think Harlow Town would have been so much more successful. But it had to happen. And for whatever reason, it never did. Whether the money, whether people put money in and they wanted their money back, it's like a football club. But I would have thought mostly when you're at a football club, you're not putting money in to make money, are you?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Like I say, for me, it was strange, and also because obviously I went and played for Stortford after, and honestly, from supporters that I knew as being friendly towards me, when I actually come back to play for Stortford, they were not friendly towards me at all. So there was a little bit of that, and I always felt sorry. In the end, I felt so sorry for a great mate of mine, Andy Walker, who played for the club and for Harlow, and obviously come to Stortford later on. But then he was playing, and I was right at the end, and I must have kicked him all over the place just because the Harlow supporters were giving me so much stick. You ask him, I kicked him till he was black and blue, So I did feel sorry for him, and when I see him, I do apologise, but it was a bit hard to take when people wanted to, see your house go up in flames and saying things like that. So it was difficult at that time.
Did you ever get to a stage though, Ray, that and everybody knows, and as I said at the very, very beginning, probably one of the the top coaches in a non-league game and kids game for me by a country mile, and I've seen what you've done with Danny's side when Danny was a youngster and stuff like that, and how you gave you time to help me as well with the side that I had at the time. And but have you ever was it one of those things that you would have loved to have managed Harlow, or is it one of those things that was never to?
The nearest I got was coming back with Dave Edwards.
Yeah,
being player coach under Dave Edwards, and that sort of thing. I would have loved to have been manager at the club. I'd love to be manager at the club now, to be perfectly fair. But my days are gone. Then that's never going to happen. I've still got, like I say, I think for me, I know he's my boy and all that, but I think Paul would make a great fit at a football club there, because he wants to play football. He wants to bring young players through. Great coach. I mean, I've watched some of the things he does some brilliant sessions and whatever. And it was quite strange because when he had me under him, Cheshunt and places like that, you got the best of both worlds. You know what I mean? You got, he could be flying off the handle and whatever it be, and then, believe it or not, I'd be the peacemaker. Don't do this, don't do that, But he also knew he had me, that and the players, wherever we were, in the end, if I went into one, if it was my turn to have a pop at them, they knew. They didn't they stayed stum. You know what I mean? Because it weren't very often it happened. But when I did go, believe you me, get out of the way, because it was going to be. But it worked really well, and I think that's the hardest bit for me. I think there was a time when we did the times at the Abbey and um, over, especially at the Abbey. I think there was talk of even Stalford coming in for Paul, and then obviously there's talk of Harlow and that sort of thing. And I think it'd just be a great fit. I really do. And it's such a shame that he's not in the game no more. He's been disillusioned because he doesn't get an interview for this, don't get an interview for that. And you think, yeah, and again, I have to go. Look, I get people go, yeah, well, you're going to say that he's your boy, but he's it's such a waste that a coach of his ability. And look, I see what a lot of people go about coaching badges. Yeah, of course I get it. I think we should all. I wish I'd gone and got all of mine. I only got a few, but I wish I'd gone and got all of them. But it wouldn't make me a different coach. I still coach the way I do, because it's about playing football.
Yeah.
It's about the right attitude. It's about doing the right things. And that, for me, it doesn't matter whether you've got a UEFA B coach, UEFA A coach, or God knows what. It's about the man and about his ethics and how he wants to play football. And that, for me, is where Paul would be so good for Harlow Town. But whatever went on between him and Tommy, that's never going to be the case. And, apart from the other thing, you couldn't tell Paul to go and do this or go and do that or play this way. No more than you could me, because I tell you, you ain't the manager. So again, I had one conversation with Tommy, and it disappointed me when Paul was there and I was going to come in as reserve team manager. And I went and met Tommy. Lovely. Look, I have to say, I quite like Tommy as a person. I think he's a lovely man, an absolute lovely man. But when it comes to being told, right, okay, yeah, I'd like to have you on board, but there's certain stipulations that when it gets to half time, you change this player, this player, and that player. I'm going, well, how do you know? Because you ain't, one, he weren't here, and two, you might not be going that way. You might not be able to, but very much down that road. No, I tell you to do that, you do it. And I'm thinking, like, not for me. And that was the end of that conversation. I just said, do you know what? Don't want to fall out with you, but no, I ain't doing what you tell me to do. Because it's not you telling me to do this. It's very much like you put somebody in there to do a job. Let them do that job. If they fail, then get rid of them. And that's the bit I've found frustrating. I've come to watch games there. There always seems to be somebody else involved, not just the manager and the coaching staff. It always seems to be there's another person.
So,
and I get frustration.
So, mate, do you remember? Do you remember a game? And I'm sure you was with Paul at the time with Waltham Abbey, and it was one of those games that it was. I think Harlow were on a really good run at the time, and I think Waltham Abbey was struggling a little bit. And you came to the arena, and I think Harlow had taken something stupid like a 3-1 lead or something like that. It was, and then all of a sudden, if I remember right, I think it was Aaron Coley picked the ball up on the edge of his own box and ran the full length of the pitch and smashed one in, and then ended up losing the game 4-3. I mean, that was just an incredible game.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's the same thing. Like, we were taking stick from the crowd behind us and all that, but decent banter. You know what I mean? Nothing you couldn't deal with. You know what I mean? But that's what I'm saying. I think when you look back, and both sides, when we were at Waltham Abbey and when we were at Chesham, we had a certain. We had a wage bill that could let us have certain players, which had to be reasonably young, maybe one or two experienced players in. Like you get your backbone right, and normally you're okay. You can have your little fringe players either side and whatever it may be. And that's what we did at both them clubs. But to come to Harlow and beat them after being down, yeah, of course. Look, people might think, oh yeah, that's all right, but that was my job. My job was to support Paul as a number 2, and Paul's job was to beat Harlow Town on that day. And you know what? Brilliant, great day for us. But you know, for me, again, like I say, I just think, it should be going on, mate. It should be all this business you've got, you know, not knowing who the manager is and all this sort of stuff. And it's such a shame because there's a lot of people in Harlow, me included, who want to see the club be successful. But I think somewhere along the line, you can't be a dictator, in my eyes. Them days are gone. My days are gone. My days of being a dinosaur where I can go in and F and blind at players and throw cups of tea around the changing room, they're gone. If you can't change, and it's really hard, mate, believe you me. I was at Sorbo for 2 years with, what's his name's boy? John Waters' boy, right? And players, there were times when I thought they were so precious, I couldn't even say boot or goose. You know, if I said you're crap or something like that, they would go, oh, God, talk to me like that. And well, I can because you are crap. You know what I mean? But I'm getting players coming back and going to John, oh, he's a bit over the top. Well, no, because I was entitled to an opinion the same as they've been out there for 45 minutes to do what they should do. And now I'm entitled, if they ain't doing what they should do, then I'm going to tell them. There's no ifs or buts about it. But players won't let you. So everybody had to change. I had to change. But the best bit about it is you went on about earlier on about me being with the kids. When I went and done that kids football, you got to remember I was at Stortford then, and people have been in the Stortford change room with me going, there is no way he could do kids football because he has some blinds. I was like a Dave Edwards. Dave Edwards couldn't say. I think we used to have bets on how many times Dave would use the F word in a half-time team talk, right? But of course you can. You change. You know, when I go with the kids, the last thing I'm going to do is swear at a kid or shout at him or anything like that. You know, you just go, well, this is a different environment. So I treat each environment. If I'm paying a player £100 a week, then I think I'm entitled to say whatever I think I need to say to get him to play. If he don't like it, go somewhere else. But when I've got a kid who can't kick a ball, I need to work with that kid and go, right, you can kick a ball with your right foot, but you can't with your left. So we're going to do a little bit of left foot, right foot. That's how you do it as a coach. You know, but there's different arenas you're going to be in, isn't there?
But I think I remember the time. I think you had under 8s with Danny at Markle. I had under 7s with Langley Colts, and we were playing roughly the same sort of way and as such. And of course, you with 100 ton of a bit more experience than myself. So bring the boys down, and and they can join my training session. And we were getting beaten sort of 8s and 9-0s and something like that. It was just in them days. And then it came down. I think we had a couple of sessions with yourself, and then went away. And then okay, we weren't winning massively big games or whatever, but we were losing games 1-0, 2-0, or getting a draw here, getting a draw there. And the difference of just listening to what you were saying and then putting that into the boys week in, week out as well. And I think it must be a Wickenden trade. That's all I can say, because I don't know if it's your brother or who run the Markle side as well, very successful Markle side. And I remember, for the life of me, I can't think what his name is. Sorry, I do apologise. And I always remember reffing his games, and they always had tight games against the likes of Abbey Youth and Sumners. And I remember one cup final, and they were getting absolutely smashed at half time. I mean, it was over at the arena. And I don't know if it was 3-0 down or 4-0 down at half time. It was Tony, was it? Tony, innit? Yes. Yeah. And it was 3 or 4-0 down, and I had Andy Sumner was up in the press box with me. And I said, well, you finally beaten them then. I said, you finally going to beat them in the cup final as well. And he just turned around to me and he went, if they score one early doors, he said, we'll lose the game. And I can't remember if it was 3-0 or 4-0 down. And they scored one early doors and won the game in Markle. And it was just an incredible... You just sit and you think, what do you say to... I think they're under 11s at the time. What does Tony go into that dressing room at half time and say to kids that are losing 3-0, 4-0, in a cup final against a team that you've never lost to realistically, to try and turn them back round. And it was just probably one of the most amazing games of football I think I've ever seen.
Yeah. I think it's like we said, we used to have it when we were at Harcourt and we were winning every game, right? And 9 times out of 10, not just winning, but winning well, right? But we played some great football. And I know there was, but never once did I allow the players to get big-headed or start giving the other kids a bit of stick or whatever it may be. And then I remember we played a semi-final and I had about 3 players go down sick, and we played against, I can't remember the side it was, but it was over Summers, and they beat us 1-0 in the semi-final. This side was never going to beat us in a million years, but they beat us this day 1-0. And I've got half my players walking off crying and all this, and I pulled them together and I said, right, how you feel now? That's what you've done to sides all season. I said, so I'm not saying you shouldn't feel like the way you do because you want to play in a cup final. It's not a problem with that. But just be a little bit more humble now. When you beat a side 8-0 or 10-0 or whatever, and they're upset, go and put your arm around them. Go and sell them. It don't matter. It's a game of football, whatever it may be. And I think that's the way you've got to be with them. You know what I mean? If you just show the kids and they can be a little bit humble, even if they are the best side, that they're as, because you're not just doing it to be footballers, you're doing it to be young men.
Yeah, and I mean that situation. I think the only one that sort of thing that for me was we were in a cup final once with one of my boys' teams, and we got into the final, and we knew we was going to get a bit of an hiding, shall we say, because we knew we was up against the top team in the age group. But we got there, and I think it was actually at the old. I'm sure it was at the old Harlow ground and at the sports centre, and I just remember we got a penalty and early doors. The bloke was just about to run up and take the penalty, and the referee blew his whistle and said, "No, it's not a penalty. It's a goal kick." And it was like, "What? Hang on a minute." And anyway, we went on and we was about 4-0 down, and we had 2 boys there that were playing for us that weren't in the substitutions. We'd done all our subs, and I just turned around to the other manager and said, "Look, you're smashing us 4-0. Would you mind for the last 10-15 minutes that I just put these 2 boys on?" I said, because no disrespect, that ain't going to change the score, just so that they can say that they played in a cup final. And he spoke to his assistant, and we put them on, But it was a great gesture from them. We lost the game, I think 4-0, 5-0, whatever it was. But we put them on, and for them 2 young kids, it was like the best thing ever. We played in a cup final. They get their little losers medal or whatever they got. Do you know what I mean? But they were over the moon. It was just that gesture makes all the difference in that type of football, doesn't it?
It does, because it's like when I did the kids, it started out. Look, we did well, and we won lots of things with kids. But for me, it was more about the way they played. It was trying to give them the understanding that you use all of the pitch, because if you think about when I go and watch kids football now, everybody has to come back behind the halfway line and blah 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 for kick-off and all that. Whereas for me at that time, I basically, when we scored, we come back. But what I'm saying is, once we started again, Dan went straight up top. I had 2 players either wide there, and so I had like that sort of shape and a decent player in there. And I just said, as soon as the goalkeeper got here, it just went wide, because how I try to get them. Where's your goal? In the middle of the pitch. Well, get the ball as wide as and away from the goal as possibly can, and play football from there. And there's a good chance you won't give goals away. That's how we first started. And I used to say to them, right, so if you get wide and you've got 1 point up there, play the point. It can always come back and go out the other way. So you're just doing that all the time. And it worked like a dream. And they weren't the greatest players. We had 3 or 4 decent players, don't get me wrong. But the other players were players that you just think, I'm going to have to work with him or whatever. But they got it. And, and it worked like a dream. And I used to enjoy the way we played. Some of the goals we scored, it's probably had 15 touches all the way through the side and come back out and went out the other way and then we'd score or whatever. It weren't about the winning as such. It was just the way the kids played and got what you were trying to say to them. and stayed in their roles. You know, you had the two wide players. I used to say them like after 10 minutes swap, just go that side because they're getting to know what you like and just simple things that they should take on later on. But and the other thing we did, I always feel like when Dan went to an academy football, what amazed me that there was players there who couldn't kick with they could kick with the right foot but not their left. And I'm going, right, hang on. You're telling me you've got all the best players from all over this area and he can't even kick with his left foot? What's that all about? So I made players every session we did, whether it was shooting, whether it was passing, they always had to go left and right. The exercise always included both legs. And in the end, look, I think we had I don't know if you remember Bradley Russell. He played for us. Lovely player, but he hated using his left foot, hated it. And we did some shooting exercise, and he got upset a couple of times because his ball was skewed off somewhere over there. And I went, Brad, don't get upset because the more you practice, the better you become. I said, and no one's laughing at you. Nobody cares whether your ball goes over there. But your next ball might go straight. Your next ball might be. I said, just don't be afraid of it. Don't think. And you know what? All of a sudden, he started kicking with his left foot. And he was a different player like he is now. And them little things, them little seeds of what I enjoyed, you know, just, you know, saying to a player, look, you ain't got to be that way. You just got to be that way. You know, and if you make a mistake, I don't care. You know, and I think that's the biggest thing. I think even when you know, I always, when I was working with Paul, when we were at the Abbey and all that sort of stuff, I used to say to players, I ain't bothered about you making a mistake. That's your choice. So if you decide, if you're a fullback and you get thrown the ball and you decide to come back inside and their centre forward takes the ball off you and they score, yeah, I'm going to have a pop at you because you shouldn't do it. You know you shouldn't do it. But the decision's got to be, because you might get away with it next time. I'm not trying to tell you not to do it. I'm trying to say, make a right decision. You know, play your percentages. As a fullback, you should be getting the ball from the goalkeeper and always going out that way to play that way because there's no danger. As soon as you step there, there's danger because your goal's there and there's a group of players there. So all in all, you're just trying to say to players, whether it's a young kid or whatever, just think there, right, where would I want not to go? And it's there. You know, a midfield player, why would you want to receive the ball with your back towards their goal, you're facing your own goal? Because all you're doing is allowing their midfielder to face the way he wants to face. You know what I mean? Everything's got to be side on if you can, because if you don't, you can't see the whole picture. No. You know, and I think, you know, you get a centre half nowadays. You look at Man United, or centre halves, they all want to play football. They're all receiving the ball from the goalkeeper in their own penalty area. You're thinking, really? If they were great ball playing players, they wouldn't be centre halves, would they? They'd be further up the pitch.
Yeah.
You know, you're going like, where is the logic? If I'm a centre half, I'm there as a stopper. I'm a defender first and foremost, and I edit and kick it. Anything else is a bonus. And you look at all the decent defensive sides, that's how they play. I've got no problem about playing out from the back, don't get me wrong, but there's a time and place for everything.
No, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And as the hardest bit is in days gone by, you know, my job was, first of all, I had to mark a winger, stop him getting down the line. So if that meant kicking him, then I kicked him. If he got up because I kicked him and carried on playing, then I was in trouble. You know what I mean? But they're the first. It's like anything. You just go in your head, going like, first and foremost, he looks a bit tricky. Give him a clump, you know. And if he starts grizzling and crying, you think, well, that's all right. I've got no problem with him. I've got him where I want. Then you could go and play your game. But if that winger got up and said, you know, wanted to give it back to you and all that, you think, oh, right. But then I've got to start home. I've got to mark him. But if he was a little bit of a grizzler, I could go forward, put a cross in, and still come back and say, you're rubbish, because not only can I beat you as a defender, I'm actually putting crosses in. You're nowhere near me, you crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's all them little things in football, isn't it? No. It's all them little kidology. It's all that little, you know. And like I say, that's how I used to try and, you know, when I was coaching the kids, just same thing as in coaching with Paul, same thing there, you know. But like I say, going back to the club could do far worse than get Paul in there. Let's put it that way.
Well, let's see. Let's have it. You never know.
I don't think you're ever getting an interview, mate. You know, and to be fair, I've retired. I'm not doing it now. The only place I would come back out of to help would be at Harlow.
There you go. You heard it here first.
Back as number 2, huh?
I said that's it. We've heard it here first. We never know.
That's the only club. If Paul got that job, I will come back out of retirement and help him. Other than that, I'm not interested in any other job. Don't want to do it.
Well, there you go. Everybody's heard it, and I say it's been a fantastic chat with you, Ray. And I must admit, I could sit here all day listening to you because I think you're fantastic, and as you know, but it's been a pleasure.
The memory's gone a little bit, mate. But I mean,
but it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you today. It really has, and I wish you and the family all the best. Wish Danny all the best. Of course, I think he's at Chalfont at the minute, is he? And you know, wish him all the very best as well, and everybody else, and hope Paul gets back in the game.
When you get me Paul, you might get Dan and all.
Yeah, you never know. That'd be
imagine
good.
that.
Yeah,
imagine that at the club.
That'll be good. But until next time, from me and from Ray, good night.